As I was growing up in a Down East fishing community, commercial fishing was king, and most young men were striving to be the best fishermen in Core and Pamlico Sound. These sounds were the same sounds John White illustrated in 1585, with Indians fishing nets, and I can trace my ancestors back to the late 1700s being fishermen. Fast forward to the 21st century, and with all the new laws that have been put into place, that dream is no longer a reality for young people in my community. My grandfather, William E. Smith Sr., was a second-generation fish dealer. He, like his father, ran a family-owned seafood business in the Atlantic community of Down East Carteret County, starting with a handful of trawlers and a fish house by the name of Luther Smith & Sons Seafood. This business became a symbol of small businesses and servitude towards its town. Citizens could depend on the financial support to put food on their tables, just as their ancestors did long before them. In time, the business expanded to Beaufort, with deep waters and a deep water inlet nearby, which provided access for larger boats to unload their catch and ride out harsh storms. My grandfather, William Smith Jr., ran the Beaufort Fish House and started building a fleet of steel trawlers with the help of Tinker Wallace, a talented craftsman of steel vessels. Upon the passing of my grandfather in 1991, and later my great-grandfather in 1996, things started to change. About this time, the dynamics of North Carolina fisheries started changing. All kinds of new regulations were placed on the fisheries and the fishermen. This was the start of a downward trend in numbers of fishermen and vessels working in the industry. My mother often talks about teenage boys in the 1980s making enough money in 2 summers on a shrimp boat to buy a car when they turned 16. All of the Down East communities were thriving at this time, with many successful businesses. What happened, you ask? Mainly government regulations. Conservation groups have shut down industry and put so many regulations on the seafood industry that people have been forced out of work. Many fishermen are having a hard time providing for their families in our Down East communities. It is sad when restaurants on the Crystal Coast are buying shrimp from Asian countries that have been fed products containing fecal matter and are injected with chemicals and preservatives that have been banned in this country for years. Why do you think this would happen? Because it is cheaper? Unfortunately, many tourists do not know the difference between local and imported shrimp, which is really sad. Many people are moving away from Down East because our once thriving communities are no longer thriving. When people move away, it hurts our schools, businesses, and churches. I know it has hurt my former school, Atlantic Elementary, and my church. If regulations continue as they have, I do not know what the future will hold for Down East. People being put out of work has a trickle-down effect on everything. Defining my future means saving the commercial fishing industry and the community that I live in from the oppression of the government and its laws. How am I going to do this, you ask? Education and information. I want to educate people on the difference in cheap, imported, unhealthy seafood and fresh, local, chemical-free seafood. Did you know only 2% of the imported shrimp are inspected by the FDA? These foreign shrimp farms have been linked to slave labor and are thought to harm the environment. I want to inform every citizen in our state that they are a stakeholder of our waters and need their voice heard in Raleigh. Right now, there are people in our state who are trying to implement new rules on shrimping that can have a catastrophic effect on our local economy and the seafood industry. Where do these people think their seafood is going to come from? Not everyone lives on the coast, or if they do, has the means to go out and catch their own seafood. These waters are public trust, and all citizens in North Carolina are stakeholders to these waters. What will happen to the pristine waters of Pamlico Sound if a trawler cannot turn over the bottom? It will die, and the seafood will die with it. Join me in helping educate every North Carolinian in this state. If everyone said no, we all would win, and my Down East communities could thrive once again.